Alright, welcome ladies and gentlemen. So, Star Wars Skeleton Crew came out a couple weeks back. Now, I hold my hands up, I've not watched it. It's not for me. This is for kiddies, right? I have reviewed the trailers, and I think the last one I was like, hey, this actually does look really quite decent, you know? Quite decent. I may get to it eventually. So please don't misconstrue that this is a video mindlessly hating. I think this is more of the aim of the video is an assessment of how you can kill a brand regardless of releasing good content now. And I think that's what Disney has done. So Star Wars Skeleton Crew is a flop, right? It's a flop. We know because we can see the streaming charts, and it's not able to hit the top 10 on the streaming charts, which is a bad sign. It's a bad sign. So this is an assessment of Disney and their brand, I guess, more than anything else. That's the aim. So we'll dive into this. Hit subscribe if you're new here, and do turn those bell notifications on. And also, guys, there's a lot of you that keep coming back. I can see you on my analytics. Hit subscribe if you would be so kind. It really does help a channel out, and it also encourages YouTube to recommend the channel to you. So if you could, it would be really, really good. Thank you in advance. So Star Wars Skeleton Crew flops again, is this article's title. Fails to land on top 10 streaming viewership charts for the second week. Because there's been twice now. It's twice in a row. So I'll leave this article linked down below. But it's a pretty non-biased place as well. Well, actually, it's Illuminate's top 10, which is in conjunction with Variety, which is actually quite biased towards Disney. But yeah, it's not on there. So last week, when the new Star Wars Skeleton Crew failed to chart on Illuminate's top 10 streaming originals viewership report, some chalked it up as a fluke. So some said the following. After all, it was only available for 3 days in the tracked week, was the most common Disney Star Wars Defender excuse. But this week leaves no question in anyone's mind, save for the shilliest of Kathleen Kennedy shills, who somehow manages to spin anything as positive. So Skeleton Crew is a flop. It's not there for the second week in a row. But got to remember, this is now with 3 episodes, because they do like total watch time, right? Like it's the total viewership numbers. So the more that is released, the higher the potential chance of it appearing on a top 10 chart. And it's not able to do it. So once again, Paramount Plus and Netflix have dominated the top 10, with Peacock filling in the last spot with the Day of the Jackal, which is apparently really good. Top in the charts is the Taylor Sheridan show, Landman, with 1.8 billion minutes watched. And then once more, there's 2 seasons of Lioness, which is another Taylor Sheridan show, and that took 2 spots on the list. It's crazy, isn't it? Like, this Taylor Sheridan guy is like single-handedly keeping Paramount Plus afloat. He is Paramount Plus at this point in time. I mean, good on him. And good on Paramount for going, yeah, this guy's good. Let's just give him all the money and let him do whatever he wants. Because that's how you encourage creativity, right? Like, that's how you do it. None of this stifling of creativity that, you know, a lot of these studios try and do all the time. So yeah, Paramount, amazingly, is leading the charts. Jackal's good as well, apparently. That's really, really good. But like I said, Paramount Plus, the guys who bought you Halo, or Halo brought to you by Paramount Plus, they're leading, weirdly. It just goes to show, doesn't it? If you have good creatives and they're good, let them cook, I guess is the phrase, isn't it? Anyway, so what's going on with Star Wars specifically? Because this is interesting, right? So it says here, it also filled in this position the previous week at 332.3 million minutes watched. That's a 13% decrease from last week. So that's the Day of the Jackal thing. So that's not, yeah, it's not brilliant, but sure, whatever. Skeleton Crew hasn't managed to break into the top 10, but if you factor into these numbers, which they've already revealed, how would Skeleton Crew factor into the top 10? So because it has 121 minutes of runtime over 3 episodes, Skeleton Crew would need about 2.38 million households watching to meet or beat the number and crack into the top 10. Just 2.4 million households discovering the show late and watching all 3 episodes would have put it ahead, but it didn't. And when you think about it, 2.4 million households in the States is nothing. It's nothing at all, actually. That's a pittance worth. It's a tiny amount of people. And they can't seem to get that many people to watch it. Or that many more people to watch it. It's really, really, really bad. That's really, really, really bad. It's surprisingly so as well. And I say that as someone that, you know, isn't massively enamored with Star Wars. Certainly not Disney Star Wars. But I am surprised that it is bombing as bad as it is. So that's bad. The show received high praise from many critical voices for its new and interesting story. However, and this is the point of my video, it might be too little too late. Right? Like, they've done... What was the last show? It was The Acolyte, wasn't it? I mean, that was a monumental failure. Monumental failure. Disney's had a lot of negative headlines at the moment. A lot of negative press. But Star Wars in general has not been very well received. They don't seem to know what they're doing with it. And I would argue they just don't know what they're doing with it. A lot of their shows have just completely failed. So, yeah, it's not a surprise. Lucasfilm head Kathleen Kennedy and her special brand of Star Wars may have run out of goodwill with no benefit of the doubt left for audiences to give. And that's the thing. You buy an audience's sort of... Well, you buy them goodwill. You buy their goodwill and they then buy your product. If you put out, more often than not, a relatively quality product. If you're putting out shit thing after shit thing after shit thing... Audiences are no longer inclined to give you a benefit of the doubt, and thus they won't buy your product. And I think that's kind of what's happened with Disney here. I reckon anyway. It says here, it's also interesting to note that neither Disney or Hulu have a single show in the top 10 for the second week in a row. Disney is reportedly losing Disney Plus advertisers for failing to meet guaranteed minimum impression thresholds. With a brand new Star Wars show unable to draw in 2.4 million people, it's not difficult to see why the advertisers are pulling out. So there you go. I don't have much else really to say, but I think this is indicative of, regardless of the show being good or not, it's not an indictment of the show, but it's Disney's brand of Star Wars. It's run its course. I don't know if they can right this ship now. They've cheapened the product by putting it on TV, and then they've cheapened it even further by removing everyone's goodwill by making shit. So what do you think? Let me know down below. Take care. Bye-bye now.